Hello boxing fans, welcome to JP Boxing. I've got a fight preview prediction for you all today. This is for a very big fight coming up on September the 14th. It's actually the first big fight we've got to talk about for quite a while now. We always have that little lull in the action, that little break in the action in the boxing world, don't we? Towards the end of August where there's no big fights to talk about. I think the last one was Crawford versus Madrimov. That was right at the start of August. But we're back with the big time boxing. As I said, September the 14th at the T-Mobile Arena in Las Vegas, and we're back with a guy who's still the biggest name, the biggest star in the boxing world. Even if you believe he's on the slide a little bit now, you know the man I'm talking about is Mr. Canelo Alvarez right here, and he's taking on a guy called Edgar Berlanga, a fighter who's of Puerto Rican heritage, lives and resides in America though. And if I'm honest, I've started with that Mexico-Puerto Rico thing because that is the main and probably only selling point here that makes this exciting when you look at it at face value when it was first announced. Because I don't want to shit on the fight, I don't want to slag it off too much because I will be watching it. I am kind of getting excited for it as we move closer. And it's not just because it's a Canelo fight. I'm always excited to watch Canelo. He's one of those guys like Usyk, Nue, Better Bivol, like no matter who they're in the ring with, you're going to watch because they're one of the pound for pound best, so they always bring excitement. But as we move a little bit closer, Edgar Berlanga, although I make him a massive underdog in this fight, he is coming with the right type of mentality. I think he's the first guy in actual, like the last probably 4 Canelo opponents, if I'm remembering correctly. Golovkin, Ryder, Charlo. There's one more in there. Oh, Munguia now. That was escaping me. Sorry, but yeah, Munguia. I think he actually really believed. I don't think if any of them guys truly believed they were going to get in there and beat Canelo. I think they were going to go in there and just give it as good as they got. Take Charlo out of that, actually. Charlo just came for the payday and fucking laid down like an idiot. That was a fucking waste of a fight. That could have been much better in my opinion. But I don't think we're going to have that problem here with Edgar Berlanga. Although I think he's limited, although I think Canelo is levels above him, Edgar Berlanga, you can see by the face-offs, the interviews with him, the videos looking into his training camp, he genuinely does believe he's going to win this fight, and he is without that coming to win this fight. But, of course, coming to win and believing you're going to win. You could go out, pull a maniac off of the street that believes they're going to win a fight and gets in there trying to win the fight. It doesn't mean they're going to win. So yeah, levels wise, we have to be honest. There is a massive gap between these guys in terms of boxing ability, of course, resume, achievements, success, all of that. But yeah, let's just jump into the stats a little bit before I give you my prediction for the fight. This is on Amazon Prime pay-per-view and Dazn pay-per-view, by the way. If you do tune in to watch it, obviously it's an early hours job for us UK fight fans. Normal time for you American fight fans. If you're from another country, you'd have to work the times out for yourself. I'm sorry. But yeah, Canelo 61-2-2. That's 61 wins, 2 losses, 2 draws, 39 KOs. He's 34 years old now. Obviously, was recently the undisputed super middleweight champion. This is now only for 3 belts: the WBC, WBO, and WBA, because he was stripped of the IBF last month, if I'm correct. Do I need to give you the wins and the resume of Canelo Alvarez if you're a boxing fan, or even if you're just a casual, like if you're a hardcore boxing fan or a casual boxing fan? I'm sure you know Canelo shared the ring with who he's beat. Obviously, his 2 losses are to Bivol and Mayweather, 2 of the very best around. His wins, man, you've got Cotto, you've got Lara, you've got Trout, you've got Golovkin, Plant, Saunders. He's been around the block 20 fucking times, Canelo. But there's complaints, of course. Recently, he hasn't fought at the highest level of what's available to him. I'm not going to make this whole video about David Benavidez. Most of my Canelo videos seem to be about David Benavidez over the last year or so, because that's the fight we want to see, man. We don't want to see Canelo versus Berlanga, even though as we get closer, we get excited for it. If Canelo ain't fighting Benavidez, or maybe Terence Crawford, or maybe the Bivol rematch, there's not much interest in anybody else out there, man. And Berlanga, I don't want to shit on him too much. I like his attitude. He's young, he's hungry. I think he gets a lot of unjustified hate because this is the Edgar Berlanga story, people. If you don't know, he's now 22-0, 17 KOs, but this guy was making loads of noise when he was coming through, because he got to 16-0 with 16 first round knockouts, which is something I don't think we've ever seen before in the history of boxing for a super middleweight. I'm pretty sure he did break a record or say like that, and it might not have even been a super middleweight. It might have actually just been for any fighter in any weight division. But whether it's history or not, 16-0 with 16 first round knockouts is not something you see often at all in boxing. And this, then people were like, shit. If you would have made the fight at that time, people would have been like, fucking hell, Canelo could be in trouble here. Because even though Berlanga wasn't fighting at world level or anywhere near, the way he was looking and disposing of people, you could have sold this fight like this guy is the Deontay Wilder of the super middleweights, the Tyson of the super middleweights, and people then would have actually been sold on it. But since then, he's now 22-0, so he's had 6 fights since then. He went on a 5-fight streak with no knockouts at all, as he stepped up just a little bit. I wouldn't even say to fringe world level, I'd say like good international level. When he really started to struggle, he got knocked down in one of those fights, and you started to realise that shit, they must have just been finding him the perfect opponents to look good against here, as he just seemed to have completely lost that knockout power and just stopped looking like that ruthless beast that he was in, or he seemed to be in the ring in the early stages of his career. But in his last fight, he did get back to knockout ways against Puerto. But again, Puerto is not even fringe world level, man. And he was giving Berlanga all he could handle in them early rounds. But at least Berlanga did show his power again in that fight and took McCrory out in the 6th round. But that being said, let me go on to my prediction now on the threat that Berlanga poses. If it was anybody else, I'd say Berlanga, because of that power, which he obviously still does have. Because even if they're bums in front of you for the first 16 fights, you think one of them or a few of them would have got out of the first round at least if this guy didn't have power. He does obviously have serious power when he does land. And I do think he could land it on Canelo, because Canelo's defense isn't quite what it used to be. He does stand in front of his opponents a bit more now. He's always been a guy that ain't worried about taking a shot. But the reason he's not worried about taking a shot, Canelo, because of his chin is fucking solid. I think he's got the best chin in boxing. I think he has. It was between him and Golovkin. Golovkin's retired now, so yeah, I'd say without that, Canelo does have the best chin in boxing. And I think the way you beat Canelo was what Mayweather and Dimitri Bivol did to him. I think you're only going to beat Canelo even now, even though he's slightly past his best, is if you can outbox him or outwork him, which is why I think David Benavidez would cause him massive problems, just because of the amount of shots he throws. But then that being said, I thought Munguia would cause him big problems because of the amount of shots he threw. Canelo but Canelo stung Munguia, outboxed Munguia, hurt him and managed to slow him down. But David Benavidez is a different beast. But again, that's for another time, for another video, when hopefully that fight gets made. Berlanga isn't that type of beast. He doesn't have a high work rate. He actually has quite a slow work rate. He picks his shots a bit more. And I think if he was in there with like a Caleb Plant or a, I'm trying to think of other top heavyweight, Demetrius Andrade, like the sort of lower world level type of guys, I'd give Berlanga a chance because he could land that power. But he's going to find it real hard to land on Canelo. And even when he does land on Canelo, Canelo's got the type of chin that can handle it. And I think Berlanga will come out really excited. He is really excited for this opportunity. In those first few rounds, he will stick it on Canelo. And I think Canelo's been pissed off with him in the build-up. He wants to hurt him. It's Mexico versus Puerto Rico. Canelo's really been leaning into that. He knows that's what's selling this fight. He knows he can go to war with this guy and not have many problems. So I do think in the early rounds, it will be quite a fun fight to watch, which is why I'm going to stay up for it. Which is why you guys should tune in to watch it, even though Berlanga is a massive underdog and probably doesn't stand much chance of winning. I do think there'll be a good few moments in the, like, say, first 3-4 rounds when Berlanga lands a big overhand right or lands a big left hook on Canelo's chin, and the crowd goes, ooh, and it's proper interesting, it's proper exciting, but Canelo will be riding most of them shots. I think he'll be comfortable in there, and I think if Berlanga's power does catch him and he's like, whoa, that's a bit much, at any point, then you'll see him get back to his elusive sort of way. But yeah, I think the way this fight goes, Berlanga comes out, looking for a scrap. I think his coach said they're going to try and knock Canelo out in the first round if Canelo comes to stand in front of him. So expect Berlanga to get excited, throw some bombs, expect Canelo to oblige, and we get a bit of a firefight in the first 3-4 rounds. Berlanga, not having the highest boxing brain, probably gets a bit excited, doesn't realise that Canelo's probably letting him do this, starts swinging a bit too much, and I'll say by round 4, Canelo would have really found his timing. He'll really be busting up that body. Expect loads of left hooks to the body, a little bolo punch he does as he leans back and throws the right hand to the body. Then he'll bring the left hook and the uppercut to the head. He always does that, Canelo. He'll target the body, he'll make your hands drop, and then as you're expecting the next one to the body, he brings it over the top. It's how he eventually knocked Caleb Plant out. It's an old Canelo trick that I've actually studied for years for my boxing. It really does work if you're in there with limited guys. And Berlanga, as being a prospect, being undefeated, he's still limited. I don't even know if this guy's good enough to become world champion, to be honest. I think he's levels and levels below Canelo. So yeah, I think Canelo will have fun. He'll play with his food in the first 3-4 rounds. He actually said he's going to try and drag it out and punish Berlanga. I could see that happening. For that reason, I think Canelo would be able to get him out there after busting the body and landing a lot of headshots in probably 5-6 rounds. But I'm going to say he'll take his foot off the gas a bit. He's not really the highest working rating fighter anymore, Canelo. And I think he'll pick his shots a bit more and he'll systematically break Berlanga down and stop him. I'm going to say the 8th round. It'll actually be the first time since 2021 that Canelo stopped anyone. The last person he stopped was Caleb Plant. Obviously, since then, he's had 4 wins on points and the loss to Bivol was in between that too. So yeah, that's my prediction. Canelo round 8, the round he actually said he's going to do it in. I think he's good enough and that many levels above Berlanga that he can actually pick the round he takes this guy out in. But it will be fun for as long as it lasts. There will be bombs away on both sides. Do I think Berlanga stands any chance at all? I'm not going to write him off. I would write him off if it was the Canelo of 3 years ago. But the Canelo that's been slowing down recently, you don't know if maybe he's got old overnight. And Berlanga could catch him early and then fucking jump on top of him. You never know, but I think the chin's still super strong. Reflex is still good. Boxing skills still good, of course. He's still got good enough fitness and stamina to work down the stretch against a guy like Berlanga who doesn't throw loads of punches. I think Berlanga will actually gas out from throwing too many bombs early. So there's a slight chance, but he is a massive, massive underdog. And I would be very surprised if Berlanga won this one. But over to you guys now. Let me know your prediction for this fight. Jump in the comment section below. Please let me know if you're picking Berlanga to win. I know a lot of people want him to, but wanting him to and him being able to are two completely different things. If you're picking Canelo, what round? Or do you think it's going to go to points again? And then hopefully after this is the last opponent for Canelo for a while that we complain about. And he gets in there with a Benavidez or a Crawford or a Bivol or a Beterbiev, someone like that. Because shit like this ain't adding anything to your legacy, even if it is Mexico, Puerto Rico. You know, you already beat better Puerto Rican fighters than this. But let's enjoy it. There won't be many Canelo fights left. They're always big events. It'll be fun to watch. September the 14th in Las Vegas. The fans will come out. We'll all be tuning in. Thank you for watching, guys. Peace out.